Hi there, I'm Gabe and I have a 2500 point Warhammer Fantasy Battle Report for you. I got the Lizardmen versus the High Elves. I'll be playing the Lizardmen in this battle report and my fiance will be playing the High Elves. Before I get started, I wanted to thank Luke Davis, Once Bitten, Mr. Malorian, and Lord Tremendous for giving me the inspiration to start making battle reports. Alright, so here we go. Deployment for the High Elves. I got my fiance has 5 Elorian Reavers with full command, Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower, 10 Sisters of Avalorn, a Prince on a Moondragon with the Star Lance, a Great Weapon, Armor of Destiny, and Potion of Toughness. Then she has 23 Phoenix Guard with full command, a level 2 Shadow Mage that has the Channeling Staff, Kane's Ring of Fury. She also has another level 2 mage that is High Magic, which has the Dispel Scroll and Ruby Ring of Ruin. Then she has 5 more Reavers with full command. And then she has 15 Silver Helm with full command, a Noble BSB with a Great Weapon, and Banner of the World Dragon. The Silver Helm have a 6 on the back of the base, which shows that it has 6 more guys on there. Then she has a Frostheart Phoenix. On my side of the board, I have an Ancient Stegodon with 2 giant blowpipes. I'm proxying the next model, which is a Scarvet BSB with Armor of Destiny, a Great Weapon, and on a Carnosaur that has Blood Roar and Looping Stride. And then I have 10 Skink Skirmishers. Then I have a Bastillodon with the Arc of Sotek, 3 Jungle Swarm, 30 Skink Cohorts with full command and poison attacks, and in that unit I have Teto Echo. Then I have a brick of 25 Saurus Warriors with full command, an Old Blood General with the Sacred Stegodon Helm of Itza, Talisman of Preservation, and he is on a Carnosaur that has Blood Roar and Looping Stride. Then I have 10 more Skink Skirmishers and another Ancient Stegodon with 2 giant blowpipes. This is the overview of the board. That's how it looks after deployment. The building is an ordinary building. The hill is an ordinary hill. Actually, the hill is a Temple of Skulls, which doesn't come up throughout the game. The 2 forests are Mysterious Forest. As we go into them, they actually both become Blood Forests, and they have no real part of the game either. Here's my spells. I have the entire lore of Heavens. My fiance spells are Pit of Shades, Melkoff's Mystifying Miasma, Soul Quench, and Fiery Convocation. Her balance spells are Fireball and Soul Quench. The red arrows are the Vanguard. In the left corner, upper left corner of this picture, you see the Carnosaur proxy model. Teto Echo allows D3 units to Vanguard at the beginning of the game, and I rolled a 1 or a 2, so that's who Vanguarded for me. In her movement here, the Stegodon, not the Stegodon, sorry, the Silver Helm move onto the hill, or the Temple of Skulls. The Phoenix flies over into the middle, the Dragon flies over to the right, and yeah, that's all of her movement. She didn't actually move the Elorian Reavers after Vanguard, though. In her movement phase, she decided just not to move them. Magic for the High Elves is 11 to 6 with no channels. Her first spell was Mystifying Melkoff's, and she throws 3 dice at it and gets a 17. So I tried to dispel with 4 of my dice and I failed. And she cast that on my Old Blood, which the picture shows. So my Old Blood is -2 to weapon skill, ballistic skill, initiative, and movement. She then failed to cast the higher Soul Quench on my Carnosaur BSB. with 4 dice. She then tried to cast Pit of Shades on my BSB Carno and got it through, but I rolled my last 2 dice, needing irresistible dispel, and that's exactly what I do. Rolled 2 6s, so I was really happy about that. Here is her dice. I think she rolled a 6, a 5, a 4, and a 1. Yeah, I was really happy about dispelling that, and yeah, she was not happy that I rolled 2 6s. In the shooting phase, she takes aim with the Sisters of Avalorn and does, I think, 1 wound to the Carnosaur after randomizing, and I armor save it. And then the Bolt Thrower does 1 wound to the Skink Skirmishers, and the Reavers do 1 wound to the Skink Skirmishers. In my movement phase, I only charge with the Ancient Stegodon into the Elorian Reavers. They make it, and the Reavers pass their terror test. I probably would have fled if I was in her position, but she's a new player, so she's learning new things every game. So yeah, they stay, and they don't do anything on the stand and shoot. The rest of my army just moves up, and the arrows show how they do that. My magic phase is 10 dice to 7. We both channeled once. I decide to cast Ice Shard Blizzard off on the... excuse me a second. I decide to cast Ice Shard Blizzard off on the Silver Helm, which with 3 dice, I believe, and she tries to dispel with 3, and she fails to dispel. So then I cast Harmonic Convergence on my Jungle Swarm. Not sure how many dice I used for these because I was rolling the dice and not taking notes. So Harmonic Convergence gets off on the Jungle Swarm, and she lets it go through, and I throw Curse of the Midnight Wind on the Silver Helm as well, and she lets that through. Because I think I have like 4 dice left, and she's worried about the Comet of Cassandora, which she should, because it's amazing. So I roll my 4 dice on the small comet and fail to cast, and she starts regretting letting these 2 spells go through. But that happens. These 2 spells actually don't really matter at all. In my shooting phase, I don't do any wounds with the skinks on the left side of the board, and I don't do any wounds with these skinks, but the Ancient Stegodon does 2 on the Reavers. In close combat, I do 3 wounds on impact hits, and then the Stegodon and skinks whiff completely, and I'm pretty sure the Reavers did 1 wound, but I armor saved it. So she lost by 4 or 3. Should have been only 3 because she had a standard bearer in there. But yeah, she fails her break test, and she flees. I think she rolled an 11, and I rolled a 6. So I did not catch her, and that shows that. On her turn, she charges with the dragon into the skinks. I decide to flee because it was going to be a long charge for her, and she gets exactly what she needs and cuts down the skinks. Then she reforms. These Reavers decide to charge into these skinks, and I stood and shoot, and with their 20 shots, I'm pretty sure I did like 7 wounds, getting like 5 poisons. Yeah, so they die. In her rest of the movement, her Silver Helm moved back because they are debuffed right now, so she didn't want to charge and take those negative effects because with her being debuffed, if she did go into the Jungle Swarm, which were buffed, they probably would have stuck, and then she would have had some flank charges coming her way. So it's probably a good move moving back right here. And the Phoenix flew over to the right, and I believe that's all her movement was. Actually, no. these Reavers reforms and moved over into the woods, which then it becomes the Blood Forest, and she decides to shoot at the Stegodon, doing no wounds. In her magic, she rolls a 4 and a 3, so it's 7 dice to 4 with no channels. She uses 3 dice on Soul Quench and gets irresistible force on it, and does 3 wounds to the Carnosaur, which really sucks. So now it's only at 2. She rolls an 11 on the miscast table, and she loses both of her levels. So her high magic mage is down to 0 levels and knows only the bound spell that she has on her ring. She then throws 4 dice at Melkoff's and gets 19, which is pretty high on 4 dice. So I throw my 4 dice and I actually get exactly 19 to dispel it. Really happy about that, because Soul Quench did plenty of damage. I don't have a picture for her shooting. The bolt thrower fires at the Old Blood and the Carno and fails to wound. And the sisters shoot at the same thing, the Carnosaur, and does 1 wound to the Carnosaur. The Reavers beside the Stegodon shoot and do nothing. On my turn, movement. Here's where it gets pretty bad for me. So I decide, okay, I have some debuffed Silver Helm, which aren't going to be debuffed once it's my magic phase. And I got some juicy charges on it. I'm thinking the Jungle Swarm goes into the front, and the Old Blood goes into the front, and the Scarvet goes into the flank. I'm like, this should be really good. The Jungle Swarm allow all friendly models in base contact with the enemy on an enemy model, if they're all in close combat together with the same enemy model or unit, they all get poisoned attack. So I'm really thinking, okay, 2 monsters, 2 really decked out heroes, and Jungle Swarm into the Silver Helm should destroy that unit. Yeah, so that did not happen, and you'll see here in a second. I failed with the Old Blood, made it in with the Jungle Swarm, and I made it in with the Scarvet on the Carnosaur into flank. And everything else just moves up. Because I did fail with my Old Blood, I swift reformed my Sarsh Warriors and moved them up. I think I only moved them 4 inches. I didn't think I got my march. Let me know if that's right or not. So yeah, I tried to block the dragon so my opponent couldn't charge my rear, but I don't think I thought I had enough movement or could do it. So yeah, they just reform, so if my guy stays, I can get a flank charge. My Stegodon reforms, uses movement to pivot so he can see the Reavers, and yeah, everything else just moves up. I don't have a picture for magic. I rolled 4 and a 3, so it's 7 dice to 4 with no channels. I used 3 dice on Soul Quench. Oh, that's her magic phase. 1 second. Alright, so sorry about that. I roll a 10, so it's 10 to 7. She channels. I do not. I use 2 dice for Harmonic Convergence, and she dispels it with 2 dice. I use 3 dice against Curse of the Midnight Wind, and she rolls 3 dice and dispels it. I use 2 dice on Ice Shard Blizzard, and she uses her last 2 dice to dispel it. So yeah, she matched my dice the entire phase. I throw my last 3 dice on Urnan's Thunderbolt on the Sisters of Avalorn, and I'm thinking, okay, Strength 6, D6 Strength 6 attacks, I think, for that magic. And I get it through, and she throws her Dispel Scroll. And I was just like, oh my gosh, that is terrible. Just completely nerfed my entire magic phase. And her response was, "Mwahaha." Yeah, I was pretty upset. But that happens. That happens. It's Warhammer for you. Shooting phase. My Stegodon does the last 2 wounds on the Elorian Reavers, so they're dead, so I got the points for them. My other Stegodon and the Skink Skirmishers over here do 1 wound each against the Phoenix. That's pretty sweet. So here is the awful, terrible, most awful close combat ever. Alright, I'm done complaining. Yeah, so I thought this was going to be a great combat. It was not. I didn't realize that the Jungle Swarm are Strength 2, Toughness 2, no armor saves, I think Weapon Skill 3. So yeah, they're really bad in close combat, so they need to be in the flank. So there's less going against them. So yeah, Silver Helm goes in. I think she had 15 attacks, and with her rerolls, rerolling 3s, and wounding on 3s because the toughness was so low, she gets 9 wounds through. I can't save a single one, so there goes a full model, and then one model has 1 wound left for the Jungle Swarm. I try to attack back with the Jungle Swarm, and with the 10 attacks, I do no wounds. No poison, no nothing. So yeah, there goes my combat res right there. I'm hoping Carnosaur and Scarvet can do some damage now, but yeah. 5 attacks each, or 4 attacks with the Scarvet, 5 with the Carno, I think, something like that. Yeah, I allocate my attacks with the Carnosaur on the Noble BSB, and I do kill the BSB, which felt good, because, yeah, this combat did not go my way. I then attack with my Scarvet and only get 1 wound on the unit. Strength 7, no. Better weapon skill, so I was hitting on 3s, wounding on anything but 1s, and only get 1 through, which really hurt. Really hurt that combat res. So I end up losing by 6. The swarm crumbles the rest of the way. And I need double 1s to stick. I failed both times. Here's where I wasn't sure what was supposed to happen. I know the BSBs die if they flee from combat, but I wasn't sure about the whole monster rule, because there's a monster there, so does the entire model die, or does the BSB die and the monster live? So I wasn't sure, so we played it that the monster lived. So I rolled my break test. I failed my break test and rolled my distance. She didn't catch me. Why it looks like I rolled so much higher than her is because I did roll like 1 or 2 higher than her, but I bounced through my skinks, so I went further. And then the skinks panicked and moved out of the way, so the Silver Helm couldn't flank charge him. So what we did was then, after the movement, the monster rolled on the monster table and rolled a 3. So he became unbreakable, and he's now guarding the body of his slain master. So he is unbreakable for the remainder of the game, and in his movement phase, he turns toward the closest enemy. So that's how we played it. Let me know if that's not right. We just weren't sure, so that's how we played it. So yeah, that's that. In her movement phase, she charges the Phoenix and the Silver Helm into the rear and flank of the Carnosaur. She charges the dragon into the rear of my Old Blood and Carnosaur. Here's where another question arises. Her Phoenix Guard charged the Skink Skirmishers, which they're already fleeing, so they flee more. Through the Stegodon and Bastiladon, they both passed their panic tests. And then we weren't sure how to resolve the failed charge or whatever. She actually had enough movement to get into both the Bastiladon and Stegodon. So I was wondering, would she have had to take a leadership test to redirect into one or the other? Or could she have just gone for both? I wasn't positive what we were supposed to do, so yeah, she gets into both. So that's how we play that out. Here's a closer picture of that. In her magic phase, she rolls a 6 and a 3, and she channels. So it's 10 dice to 6. She tries Pit of Shades with 5 dice on my skink cohorts and gets it, but I use my 6 dispel dice and dispel it. So then she takes her last 5 dice, I believe, and rolls for Melkoffs on my Scarvet. Not my Scarvet, on my Old Blood. And she gets it off irresistibly and rolls a 6 on the D3. So I am -3 to my weapon skill, ballistic skill, initiative, and movement. She then throws an 8 on the miscast table, and I'm not sure what happened here. I'm not sure what caster was supposed to get wounded, but the high magic mage took a wound for some reason on the miscast. I don't really remember what happened, so you'll have to forgive me there. In her shooting phase, the Sisters of Avalorn shoot at the Saurus warriors and don't get any wounds. The bolt thrower fires the 6 shots at strength 4 at the skink cohorts and do 3 wounds to it. In close combat, the Phoenix whiffs completely, and yeah, doesn't do any wounds. And then the Silverhelm come back. Well, the Silverhelm go first, but actually, I think the Phoenix went first, but I think the Silverhelm were supposed to. So yeah, Silverhelm sink 3 wounds, and I don't armor save any. I think he only had 1 wound left anyway, so yeah. Carnosaur goes poof. Silverhelm reform. Phoenix stays the same. In this combat, the Bastillodon does 1 wound. Actually, not the Bastillodon. Phoenix Guard do 1 wound to the Bastillodon, and no wounds to the Stegodon. The Skinks on the Bastillodon do 1 wound to the Shadow Mage, and the Stegodon's Skinks actually kill the High Magic Mage, so I get the points for that. Between the Bastillodon and the Stegodon, I only get 1 wound on their normal attacks, so I kill one of the Phoenix Guard. And then on Thunderstomps, actually wait, the Bastillodon and the Stegodon get 1 wound apiece on the unit. And on the Thunderstomps, I roll 6 strength 6 Thunderstomps with the Stegodon. And I'm like, ooh, that's going to change this combat, and hopefully I can break them. Yeah, no. She rolls 5 4-up ward saves against the Thunderstomps. So I only get 1 on that Thunderstomp. And the Bastillodon gets 3 through at strength 4, and she armor saves and ward saves those 3. So I actually end up losing by 1. The Stegodon flees, and the Bastillodon sticks. In this combat, I'm pretty sure Prince did 3 wounds to the Carnosaur, and her dragon finished off the last wound to the Carnosaur. So no more Carnosaur. So my guy's on foot now with my predatory fighter attacks, extra attacks that I rolled because of predatory fighter. I actually sink 5 wounds on the dragon, so it's only down to 1 wound left. So that's pretty sweet. I lose by 1 and stick. On my turn, the Saurus warriors charge into the flank of the dragon, so getting some combat res back. The Stegodon tries to charge the bolt thrower, I believe, and fails, so he goes into the forest. The Stegodon doesn't pass his panic test and flees through the building and the Skinks and goes off the board. These Skink skirmishers do rally. Now, I wasn't sure if they are fled through, if they get fled through after they reform from a rally. Do they have to take another panic test? I wasn't sure, so I didn't do it. My magic phase is 10 dice to 7. She channels. I went all in, throwing 6 dice at the Comet of Casandora, hoping that I could take some stuff out of hers. I roll 6 dice, failed to cast, magic phase over. So yeah, and I have no shooting. So go to close combat. I do 1 wound to the Shadow Mage and kill it, and I do 1 wound to her unit, and she does 2 wounds to the Bastillodon. It has 1 left. I think she wins by 3. I fail my break test and flee. She catches me. She catches me, and that's where she ends up. This combat, the Prince does 1 wound to my Scarvet, and I believe I do 1 wound to the Prince. And the Saurus Warriors does 1 wound to the dragon, killing it. And then the Dragon Breath went first. The Dragon Breath killed 3 Saurus Warriors, and then Saurus got pissed and decided to slay that dragon. So yeah, that I'm pretty sure she lost by 1 or 2, and she rolled double 1s to stick around. So yeah. Here's where we call the game, because it was like 1:30 in the morning, really, really late. We were going to leave it set up, but I was actually playing another game the next morning. So, yeah, which was a really great game, and my buddy started taking notes to make a battle report, and then he stopped halfway through. If I knew that, I was going to take the notes and actually make a battle report, but yeah, no, he stopped, so that game doesn't have a battle report, which is very sad because it was a very good game. Yeah, here's where we finish. After counting up, I'm pretty sure she had a 228-point victory over me, which I'm pretty sure is an 11-9 win. Yeah, so minor win for her, which she enjoyed greatly. Here's a picture of her smiling because she won. Here's a picture of me smiling, not because I lost, but because my fiance plays Warhammer with me. So, closing remarks. I definitely learned not to play Jungle Swarm probably ever again. Probably won't ever play with the Jungle Swarm again. But yeah, it was a pretty good game. I think my fiance learned quite a bit. She seems to have my number out of like the 6 games we played. I'm pretty sure she's beaten me like 4 out of the 6 times. So I think she's 4-2 against me, which kind of sucks for me. But yeah, good for her. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed my battle report. Let me know about mistakes, and hope you like it. Hope you subscribe to me. Hopefully I'm going to get some more battle reports up really soon. Alright, thanks for watching.